I'm Ted Leverette, broadcasting from partneroncall.com. I'm the original business buyer advocate. And for more than 30 years, I've been helping people find and buy the right businesses the right way. You're going to hear my conversation with Henry Campbell-Jones, the managing director and founder of Hornblower Business Brokers Limited. He's a sell-side business broker in the United Kingdom with offices in London, Nottingham, and Bristol, and in Dublin, Ireland. We're going to tell you about 2 done deals and how win-win deals get done and then become even better for the buyers. I'll begin with my story and then you'll hear from Henry Campbell-Jones. I want to tell you a story about John, and there are going to be 15 lessons in here, and it's what the buyers seek. And keep in mind, my job is to help people find and buy the right business the right way. John bought a 40-year-old manufacturing company, and he doubled its profit within 1 year. John was eager to improve the company in ways the former owner didn't have sufficient interest or energy to do. The elderly man who was selling the company invented some of the products 20 years ago. His revenue came from repeat business and word of mouth. He hadn't made a sales call in years. He did not have a catalog or a brochure. There was no marketing effort whatsoever. We noticed the company's products were only sold in the United States. So we asked if there was demand for them abroad. And the owner said, yes. And then he said, I never got around to it because I didn't want to put up with all the hassle of doing business in foreign countries. So here's what John did. Within 90 days of buying the company, he established dealers across the United States. You see, the company previously sold direct. And then John gave the dealers marketing materials, and he created a video showing how to install and service the products. Within 5 months, the company was selling internationally. Within 1 year, the company's profits doubled from $40,000 per month to $80,000 per month. That's nearly $1 million a year. Now, about that time, a large company offered to buy John's business. This company had been watching John's sleepy little firm take off like a rocket ship. No, John didn't sell. He owned the company for many more years. Now, I know those of you who are thinking about buying a business. Yes, it is risky to own a business, but it's also risky to be an employee. Think about it. Is your job, or maybe even the business you own, enough to enable you to live the lifestyle you want or to make you financially secure when you retire? This is why we like to buy mature, profitable, fairly priced businesses. Henry, would this kind of deal-making strategy work for the small and mid-sized businesses in your marketplace? And if not now, because of the global crises, how about later?
Well, Ted, very much so. When buyers look at businesses, they're obviously looking at how they can improve the business. When we go to the market with a perfect business, it actually can be harder to sell because buyers cannot see what they can improve in the business. But we often come across companies which do have room for improvement, and that's when some of the best deals get done. I'm going to tell you now about a company that we sold recently at the beginning of 2020, where we enabled the sale of a company that was 100 years old. And through the sale, we enabled a clean exit for the owners and a bright future for the company under the new ownership. Just a quick overview of its operations. As I said, it's been trading for over 100 years. Its key market was the commercial and industrial lighting sector, and it had a really well-established client base that had been doing business with for many years. But its core capability was precision metal fabrication, powder coating, and electrical assembly. And these capabilities can actually be applied to quite a few different market sectors. The managing director had quite a long history with the company himself. He started 47 years ago as an apprentice at the company as a welder, but over the years had been recognised by the shareholders of the business and had been promoted up to general manager and had taken over the business about 12 years ago in terms of, as a major shareholder and MD. But in the last 5 years, he had kind of relaxed in what he was doing. He lets his sales efforts relax and maybe taken his eye off the ball somewhat.
Henry, that's one of the things that we're looking for as buyers. We're looking for these owners that have wonderful companies, and the company is just not getting the attention anymore from the owner. There's nothing wrong with the company. It's the owner is sometimes ready to move on, and a new broom comes in and sweeps in the opportunity.
Exactly, Ted. And when we first came across this company, we spotted quite a few opportunities to develop the business, both from a sales point of view and from its operations point of view. One of the first things we saw was that there was plenty of space and spare space at the factory. And indeed, one of the buyers that we took around the business, a trade buyer, just said off the cuff, we could fit double the amount of machinery in this space compared with what is here. So there was a real opportunity to create extra capacity in the company. Its core capabilities were precision sheet metal fabrication and painting capability, as well as electrical assembly. And those core capabilities could be expanded and offered to other industry sectors, such as wood burners, fireplaces, also medical testing lab cabinets, all essentially products which required metal enclosures made through precision fabrication techniques and machinery.
You know, Henry, one of the things that as buyers we're looking for is the ability to diversify. This idea of the company having the capability to do what it's doing, but in other sectors, other kinds of businesses. And the other thing that we really like is spare or unused capacity. And I won't tell the story now, but one of the things we like to do are find businesses that are only running one shift of employees, and then find other similar businesses or compatible businesses where we could buy and merge them, shut down a location that's unnecessary, and bring the employees in and put them on the second shift. And if there are more employees from another deal, the third shift. So this excess capacity and the ability to diversify into other sectors, that's so hot for us as buyers.
A lot of our buyers are on a journey of a buy and build strategy, so bringing a whole group together. So let me tell you a bit more about how we went about finding a buyer. And when we go to market with an engineering business, we always receive a lot of interest. I think that's because engineering businesses have certain attributes which make them attractive to buyers and investors. They tend to be quite asset rich with equipment and with quite a secure debtor book for tangible products that they supply. And so they tend to be more easily financed than perhaps a purely professional service business. They also have, or tend to have, a variety of capabilities and market sectors which lend themselves to creating a group of synergistic companies which can not only supply to each other but also create cross-selling opportunities and new markets. So the aim of buying and building is not to create too many synergies and cost savings, but to fill up and optimize the capacity of a company and optimize its sales channel.
That's what we're looking for. What did your buyer then decide to do?
Well, we actually generated 40 inquiries on this business and received 5 good offers, which enabled us to establish that market value and negotiate a very good price for our seller. But I think there was also a win-win, because the buyer's plans for the future were to really take this business as the first business in their strategy, or their buy and build strategy. First of all, they were looking to implement a number of business process improvements and build on the sales and marketing activities to optimize the performance of the business. And I think that will really be the core activity of the buyer over the first few months and 6 months to a year or so. It will be harder in this time for him to having brought this business at the beginning of the year, pre-corona crisis, but with a good headwind and assuming that we will get through this crisis, then I'm sure that the business will come back and he can continue with initial plans.
Henry, why was the owner bringing his company to market? Why was it for sale?
This was a retirement.
So everybody got what they wanted. The owner got out and liquidated his business with cash, and the buyer got in and has an opportunity that he's pretty comfortable that he can grow. And after this crisis we're all coping with, this company's poised to keep going and going up, right?
Exactly. And I think one of the things about the business that the owner had addressed is to put in place a few key people who were able to run the business in his absence, so that the business wasn't entirely reliant on him and wouldn't be entirely reliant on a buyer coming in to fill his shoes. He was already able to take 2 or 3 week holidays at a time without being on the phone or on his email all the time. I think that made a real difference to how the business was perceived by the buyer, and the ability for the buyer to come in and take over. The handover period was actually relatively short. It was a matter of 2 months.
Well, I guess that's one of the things that happens. This idea when a business is not overly dependent upon the owner, that means there's staff involved and the business can continue. Continuity does not have to be disturbed. And in this kind of instance, the owner is really helping the buyer learn how to manage the people who pretty much operate the company, right?
Yeah, no, that's right. And it's one of the key things that sellers should look at when preparing to sell their business.
Explain that. What do you mean by that?
To put in place a team that can manage the day-to-day running of the business without them.
One more question. When did the owner let particularly the employees know this business was in play for changing hands? And to what degree was the buyer allowed to interview or verify employee capability and maybe even the commitment of customers to the business?
Good question, Ted. I think confidentiality is very important when going through a sale process. Not only keeping the fact that the business is on the market for sale confidential from suppliers and customers, but really keeping your staff at ease with what's going to happen in the future. And I think to announce a sale before you know what is going to happen creates a lot of uncertainty within the employee group. So our advice is always to keep things confidential and not talk about it to staff until a deal is almost done. Now, sometimes that's not always possible. And in this case, the owner decided to bring in his key people in the business into the process and keep them updated with the fact that the business was on the market for sale, and keeping them abreast of the types of parties that they were talking with, so that when the eventual buyer came along doing due diligence, he was able to speak with those 1 or 2 people in the company for one-to-one as part of the due diligence process. And I have to say that did give the buyer confidence to move forward with the acquisition as well.
Henry, one of the things that I've noticed over the years with the buyers is when we can get access to the key employees, and we don't ask for it until there's a very trusting relationship with the seller and we know the financing is in place. In other words, the deal's done subject to getting more involved with employees or customers, particularly with the key employees. The last deal that I did recently was in England, and I'm in South Florida, as some of you may know. One of the keys to it was when the buyer was interviewing one of the key employees, the key employee really bought into the idea of the business changing hands and being revitalized and could see a role for that person. And that was a key factor in us wanting to get the deal done, because we not only had an owner who was willing to stay with us for a while and during the handover, the transition, but we had a major key employee committed to the future of the company.
I very much agree, Ted. And often, I guess when you talk about the sale of the business, it's often seen as quite an emotive subject. And before there's a tangible plan for the future, I think some employers can see it as a period of uncertainty and risk. But the fact is that most buyers are buying a business to improve it. And therefore that represents incredible opportunities for the people within that business to grow and develop with the business as it grows under new ownership. I think within an acquisition process, the timing of when you bring them into that process is really key. And it would be wrong to show them the future and discuss a lot of details about how their careers could progress within the new organization until a deal is on the point of being done and all the financing is in place and all the legal agreements are ready to go. And I think it's about managing the timescales of the transaction process when you do each part of the due diligence and when you start to talk to the key staff.
Okay, Henry, how do people find you, get in touch with you if they want to follow up on your presentation?
Okay, well, thank you, Ted. Just remind everyone, I'm Henry Campbell-Jones and my company is Hornblower Business Brokers. We have 4 offices across the UK and Ireland in London, Bristol, Nottingham and Dublin. And you can find us on our website, www.hornblower-businesses.co.uk. Do give us a call or drop me a line, and I'm always happy to have a conversation about your plans for your business.
Henry Campbell-Jones, thank you. And for those listening, these are the kind of things to be looking for, and these how deals get done. This is Ted Leverette. I hope what you heard was as enjoyable for you as it was for me, and valuable. Hey, if you're searching for a business right now, or you're planning to search, check out one of my books, How to Prepare Yourself and Find the Right Business to Buy. And my other book is for people evaluating and negotiating deals, How to Buy the Right Business the Right Way. You can get those books at my website, partneroncall.com. I'm Ted Leverette, the business buyer advocate with Partner on Call Network. Thanks for listening and best wishes for your prosperity.